Good evening, everyone. We'll begin in a short duration. With the due permission of the speaker, I would really like to ask if we can start.
So we can start. Yes, we can start.
Okay, sir. Justice is not merely about knowing the law, but about understanding its purpose and applying it with integrity. Good evening, everyone, respected dignitaries, esteemed speaker, and all the bright minds joining us today. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the AFIAI Intensive Certificate Program on Legal Research and Career Pathways. I would also like to thank Dr. Shobita Srivastav, who is the member of Advisory Board AFIAI, for curating this session. Thank you so much, sir. Before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce the institution behind this initiative. The Asian Forum for International Academic Interaction has been established under the name of the Nyat Foundation Trust and is a dynamic platform dedicated to fostering academic collaboration, research excellence, and practical engagement in law and elite disciplines. With a strong focus on alternative dispute resolution, international law, and emerging legal frameworks, AFIAI aims to bridge the gap between theory and practice by bringing together academics, practitioners, students, and industry experts across the borders. Through its conferences, workshops, training programs, and collaborative research initiatives, AFIAI continuously promotes knowledge exchange, skill development, and innovation in legal scholarship. Guided by its vision, empowering knowledge and advancing resolution, AFIAI is steadily emerging as a hub for academic interaction and professional growth in the global legal landscape. I would also like to highlight that AFIAI has in the past established meaningful associations with several esteemed Indian and international universities. Furthermore, we have been privileged to host distinguished speakers from the United Kingdom, Bangladesh, the United States of America, and various European countries, truly reflecting the global academic outreach of this platform. As we all are here for this intensive certificate program, which will run over the next 4 weeks from 27th March to 19th of April, bringing together a series of insightful and engaging sessions designed to deepen your understanding of legal research and career pathways. Throughout this journey, participants will have the opportunity to learn from distinguished academicians and industry experts, making it truly enriching and practical learning experience. We begin with a crucial topic: preparing for and what to expect from judicial clerkship. It promises to provide clarity, direction, and practical guidance to all the aspiring law students and professionals who wishes to explore this prestigious career path. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's session. Advocate Julius Mira Smith, a distinguished legal professional and an accomplished practitioner in the field of litigation and legal advisory. He is a former law clerk cum research associate at the Supreme Court of India and is currently serving as a panel advocate for the State Bank of India and Canara Bank. With extensive experience in handling complex litigation and legal advisory matters, he brings with him invaluable practical insights into the legal profession. To all the participants, this is your opportunity to learn, engage, and grow. So make the most of it. Lastly, the participants are requested to drop down any query in the chat box so that it could be dealt in the last by the speaker. Now, without any further delay, I invite Advocate Julius Mira Smith to take the session forward. Thank you, and over to you, sir. So you're not audible.
Audible now? Okay. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Okay. So I'll firstly describe what actually the clerkship means. So this has been a concept long which has started long back, and it has started first in the United States of America, and each of the judge for delegating their duties, they wanted a person apart from the normal clerical duties. They wanted a law graduate to do legal delegations for writing their judgments, in helping writing their judgments, or for briefing the matters whichever is there. And this has been a very prestigious position right from the beginning of its institution, because a lot of law graduates who went through this program have done well and eventually have become chief justices and even justices in respective jurisdictions. So after which in our country also, this started all over the country, right in the Supreme Court and also across the high courts of the country. So in different high courts, the process is different for joining as a law clerk. In some high courts, they have an interview only. In some high courts, they have an exam as well as an interview. But what I have done is I did a clerkship in Supreme Court. After writing an examination and then an interview, with this current pattern has been established by the former Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, when he found that the earlier pattern was being very haphazard and also being biased to so many other people. So this examination started in the year 2023, the very first time this examination came into force. So this examination has two parts, which is subjective and objective, two papers that will be in the same day. this examination I will come to this, the how to prepare or what to expect in the examination part, we will come to it later. So I will firstly tell you what clerkship looks like as a job profile. In Supreme Court, there are 4 to 5 law clerks allotted to each of the Supreme Court judge. The strength is 34 generally, and sometimes there are some vacancies. So each of the judge has 4 or 5 law clerks at any given point of time. What they basically does is, so Supreme Court has Monday and Friday as their miscellaneous days, which means the fresh matters are being heard. Most of the fresh matters are being heard on Monday and Friday. In Supreme Court, the general statistics is that only 10% of the cases gets admitted. That is, the leave is granted. If you would have read Article 136, you would be knowing that there is a provision of special leave, the grant of special leave by the Supreme Court of India, which can take a case from the High Court or from a tribunal, or generally from a High Court. An appeal can be admitted by the Supreme Court. So for that process, there's a procedure called as admission, which is taken over by the Supreme Court. Otherwise, generally, if there is a certificate from the High Court that this case has to be considered by the Supreme Court because this has a substantial question of law. Along with the certificate, the petitioner can file the case directly in the Supreme Court, and the leave will be granted, and it will be directly converted into a civil appeal or criminal appeal, and then the case will be conducted. Otherwise, any case which comes to the Supreme Court, which is generally called as SLPs, other than the statutory appeals, which we will come to, which is not necessary as of now, SLPs are general cases which arises from all the high courts and most of the forums after their after the last inquiry which has happened. When everything is lost, they come to this stage. The petitioner, the losing party, comes to this stage to file an SLP. This is called a special leave petition. So the court decides whether a particular case has to be admitted or not. As I have told you already, only 10 to 15% of the cases are admitted into the court and then converted into civil appeal or criminal appeal, and then the case goes on for a year or two before it is completely disposed of, and then a judgment is written, which is generally a reported judgment, as we all have read Supreme Court judgments. So on these particular days, that is the miscellaneous days, there will be 40 to 60 briefs, 40 to 60 cases in each of the courts, miscellaneous cases alone. So as the and each of the SLP will range from, some SLPs might be as less as 80 to 90 pages, and some might go on to 2000, 3000 pages, depending upon the volume and the number of annexures that they have been annexed. So, as the judge can't read the entire file end to end and learn everything before getting into the court, and he shouldn't he should not go to the court having no clue at all in the case. That is where the law clerk plays an important role, the judicial clerk. So each of the 40 cases or 60 cases are divided into 4 equal parts and given to the respective law clerks, and then they make briefs. Both, sometimes some judges prefer only written briefs, some judges prefer oral briefs, some judges prefer both in hybrid and so on. So they brief all the cases to the judges, and during that period of time, the training also happens, how to brief and how not to brief, and all those things are learned as well. You become fine. The You learn how to present 300 pages in crisp 1 minute or 30 seconds to a judge. What is exactly required for a judge to decide an admission, to decide an admission to decide a case when the case comes fresh to the court, whether to issue notice or not, what should all be known to the judge. All these things you learn eventually. So this is one of the roles. And then the second role is that you'll be the role is that even in writing of the judgments, there are a lot of research which has to be undertaken. So the law clerks play a role in researching upon those things as well. In so many judgments, law clerks actually help in drafting the judgments as well. Since the judges' workload in Supreme Court is really humongous, mm, the law clerks play a huge role in keeping the judicial system functioning properly, um, and also deriving a huge benefit out of the clerkship. So this kind of training actually has helped a lot of law clerks to come out successfully after their clerkship and then do well in the profession in various parts of the world. From Supreme Court of India, the law clerks who have come in the last 10 to 15 years from when the Supreme Court clerkship started becoming very serious, the alumni has been doing really good. So apart from this, there are the judges might have other work like giving speeches in various colleges and also in various conferences and in international conferences, and also in other areas the law clerks will be helping a bit. But the main core work is to brief an SLP or to brief an entire file into 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or to brief a 200 pages to 300 pages petition or a counter affidavit or an entire case to 2 to 3 pages. That is what it boils down to, the work profile actually. So this is law clerkship, and then the salary is also the stipend is also pretty good in Supreme Court as of now. It starts with 1 lakh per annum, and then also, sorry, 1 lakh per month, and also after a year I think there's an increase of 10,000, or I'm not absolutely sure of that. So apart from that, so we'll come to how the exam works. So the exam has two components, which is one is objective type. The objective type mainly, if you see that there are 6 subjects which are the core basic subjects which we all learn in the law schools: Indian Contract Act, Indian Evidence Act, Indian Constitution, the S12 IPC, S12 CRPC, and then the S12 Evidence Act, and then the respective new new criminal laws. All these laws um, has to be studied in detail as much as one would prepare for Delhi Judicial Examination prelims. That is the standard in which the candidate who is writing the examination has to prepare to do well in the objective part. So this covers almost 70% of the objective part, and then the remaining 30% will be about comprehension and landmark cases, which has come in the latest year, which will also be there will also be a list of cases given by the Supreme Court website every year, the last week or the last fortnight, to help the students as to what are the illustrative list of cases, so that exactly you can prepare those cases, and then the remaining 30 marks will also be covered. So this is the picture of how to prepare for paper 1. And paper 2, there are 3 parts. One is brief making, preparation of brief. So that carries 150 marks. The rest of the 2 questions, there are 3 questions. One is brief making, that carries 150 marks. And then
Excuse me, sir.
there's another component called as research memo, preparation of research memo, that is 75 marks. And then the third one is writing a descriptive answer, like we would be writing in the college examinations. So that will be 4 or 5 questions given generally, and then you will be asked to write one. On that basis, 75 marks on whether we are able to do the IRAC method properly or not, whether we are able to analyze properly or not, we will be awarded respective marks. So preparing all these three requires some amount of effort, especially the brief preparation. To those who want to, those who are thinking or aspiring to join judicial clerkship, if it is possible, I would suggest anyone who is wanting to write this examination to undergo a judicial internship with any of the Supreme Court judges or even the High Court judges, so that you will know how to make briefs, and it becomes second nature for you. It really helps a lot in this examination. And then research memo, and then the other question, it purely depends on the preparation you do on the last mm, you have been doing throughout your law school, and then in the last 1 month you can hone how to write and all those things, and it's pretty doable. This is the structure of the examination in toto, both the paper 1 and paper 2. So after this we have an interview as well. So the marks come out, both the both the papers together, the marks come out, and after that the interview, we according to the CV
Excuse me, sir.
submitted, and then the various processes like assessment internship, uh, assessment clerkship, and so many other things. The judges take their own interviews, and then the law clerks are absorbed from the list of the candidates who have made it to the final list. And then other people are also absorbed into the registry of the Supreme Court of India, where also very good work is going on various committees. They are also law clerks and paid the equal amount of salary. And whenever there is a vacancy in any of the judges' chambers as well, these people are recruited from the registry and also from the rest of the candidates who have qualified the written examination. This is the process of the examination currently in force in Supreme Court. There are other books as well which have been written recently by the Center of Research and Planning, which tells what how a law clerk and the duties of a law clerk and everything is dealt with in detail. So I will share the PDF as well to the coordinator so that you can later on go through that. So after law clerkship, generally, so what are the skills that you will develop in during the period of clerkship, judicial clerkship? So any law graduate who comes from any part of the country, there is always an aspiration to argue in the Supreme Court. If you are aspiring to join litigation, Supreme Court is the apex. So people want to get into the Supreme Court, argue matters, if not now, in the far future at least, to make a mark in the profession. So there is a lot of nervousness, and since the Supreme Court is the court of last resort as well for many cases, for cases involving death penalty, and then cases involving huge crores of civil disputes, and then in trademark and so many other things, and then this attains finality at most points of time. So the
Excuse me, sir.
counsel there in the Supreme Court has enormous responsibility to present the case properly to the judge. So generally, advocates, there's a whole system revolving around the Supreme Court, which doesn't happen in many other systems, like in many other high courts, or even many other district court, or even in some high courts also. This clear cut system doesn't happen. For example, in district courts, everybody does soliciting and arguing as well. So that the filing counsel manages filing, and then does cross examination, chief examination, and also does the arguments as well. There are certain people who are specialized in certain laws, but it is not a general culture to brief a senior for a particular case, even though the ownership of the case lies with you. A junior who is like a lawyer who has 5 years of experience does not go to a particular senior for briefing him for the arguments in the end regularly, for for the presentation of arguments alone in a district court. In high courts also it is rare actually. At least in the non-urban high courts, it is rare that the senior counsel are not engaged by themselves or not engaged by briefing counsels. Many of the high courts have offices where the senior counsels have their own associates who files the cases in their name, in the associate's name, and the senior counsel argues. But the Supreme Court has a clear cut system, which is that the one thing which separates Supreme Court is that in any other forum any advocate can file a case, but in Supreme Court only advocates on record who have been who have qualified advocates on record examination can file cases on their name. So the eligibility of all those things, you will be able to find it in Google and all those things. So these AORs are generally called as filing counsels, and then there are senior counsels who are designated by the Supreme Court who regularly argue in the cases. So there are only 100 to 150 cases or arguing counsels who regularly argues in the Supreme Court. So to get into the and then they have very less juniors as well, unlike in high court or district court where some seniors who have established practices have 12 juniors, 20 juniors. They have very less juniors in Supreme Court, the AORs as well, and then the senior counsels as well. So the litigation itself is limited to very few people. So this law clerkship is actually judicial clerkship is a shortcut to get into the system of litigation in Supreme Court. Otherwise, getting into it will take place after years into in trial court and high court, and then if at all it happens. So when you join, it is you will be learning the entire procedure of what is happening in the Supreme Court and how it is happening, and on what stages, how are the arguments presented, and how are these 150 arguing counsels arguing on a daily basis, and which arguments are cut short and which arguments are not cut short, and when are the times when the arguments are cut short by the judges, and when is it listened patiently during the 1 year or 2 year or 3 years. Some people who spend even above 3 years, they learn the entirety of how Supreme Court operates, at least in substantially, and then the procedurally of the courtroom, even if do not know the effect system of filing and other things, filing or drafting cases, SLPs or any other thing, the courtroom ecosystem and the courtroom procedures, and also the substantive part of how the cases run. So this is a huge learning point to anybody who wants to pursue litigation across the country. So anybody who does Supreme Court clerkship is actually well qualified after the training to do well in any of the high courts or any of the high courts or even in the district courts. And it will be very minimal. There will be very limited things that will be have to be honed substantially. Substantially, the legal part which is learnt in those 1 year or 2 years which you spend in judicial clerkship is far, far higher than what we study in 5 years of law school. So during that time, you come across cases from across domains. So any case, right from a civil suit, which comes to second appeal, regular second appeal, and then comes to the Supreme Court, or any case from NCDRC, State Consumer Dispute Resolution Forum, and then to NCDRC, or any case from arbitration, or from any of the forums across like that, criminal cases, civil cases, service matters, writ jurisdiction from High Court. Everything ends up in SLP if it has to be challenged by a person who has lost it in the court below. If it has to be challenged, it comes to the SLP. So when you read the entire SLP, that the most important documents which the petitioner thinks has to be shown to the judges are there in the SLP. So you learn all the documents as well. So this is the crucial advantage of being a law clerk. It also sometimes helps in salvaging the grades. Some people don't get enough grades or don't do much extracurricular activities in the law school. So this acts as a huge bonus CV also. But this clerkship is not an end all, or not it's not that if you join as a law clerk, your career is completely guaranteed, or it should not be taken in that way. For that point, any decision or any single job won't be giving you that, except the government services, of course. So the clerkship, if pursued properly and with proper uh, strategy can lead to very good results. And almost every year, law clerks from Supreme Court of India, they join Chevening scholarships, and also many other scholarship. They receive scholarship from various universities for complete which are fully funded LLM scholarships. That is also one pathway people who are law clerks earlier go through. Mm. And if you want to join a law firm, this is not the path. So if you are already getting a good law firm to start with, suppose if you are in a top NLU and then you have already an offer, if you want to eventually pursue only a law firm life, this won't be a, this would actually, if you join clerkship and do 1 or 2 years, you might not be able to even get the same offer which you had earlier, because generally in campus interview we get a lot of offers which we don't get after we become experienced. So if you want to purely get into a law firm, especially the big four or the others, this is not the way to go. But if you want, if you do not have any other offer in hand, this is really a huge bonus, huge opportunity which can accelerate your career 5 times to 10 times. So if there is any question, I would follow up with that so that I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. So how do you want me to take forward from here? Do you have any questions, anybody? So judicial clerkship actually, in a particular specialization, no, but it is forum centric. When you complete a judicial clerkship in either a high court or Supreme Court, high courts, I hope people know about the roster policy of high courts. Generally, high courts, what they have is each 3 months a judge sits in a particular roster. So if you complete a one full clerkship, 1 year or 2 years, those eight rosters which you have come across, you will be in a reasonably better position than majority of the young law graduates to proceed with. That is the shape in which high court clerkship proceeds with. Judicial clerkship, it completes. You will be knowing the technicalities of, you will be able to understand the finer jurisprudence of how cases revolve. Ultimately you will also learn that all the specializations come under either civil law or criminal law, because almost all the cases can be divided into two, which is either you fight for your rights or you fight for mm, the rights which have been curbed against you already. There's either a civil wrong or there's a criminal wrong in trademarks or in intellectual property or any kind of law. If you take, it is the same. The relief would be almost the same. Either you are rewarded with relief of compensation or monetary in nature or something like that, or there is a relief of acquittal, or there is a conviction. So these are the two kinds of reliefs, and therefore civil and criminal law, or the, you will understand that specialization is not it might be more academic than more practicing. It is not a, you will be able to identify that specialization itself is more academic, um, especially in Supreme Court at least. I'll come to this next, the descriptive paper. So if you want to choose any specialization, for example, if you do have any doubts as to what area of law, what field of law you want to, and you are still not convinced about anything, the judicial clerkship will really help you to choose amongst which of the laws, which area you want to dive deep into, because it gives you a taste of everything in substantially a good level of depth, I would say. So descriptive paper. A descriptive paper. Okay, there is a sample paper, sample answer, sample question and answer PDF that is circulated by the Supreme Court in the website. I'll share that as well with the coordinators after this session. So I'll for the clerkship whatever materials I do have, I'll share it, and I will also share some, because we presently we are not taking a class as to how to prepare exactly. Um, but if some other time permits, I will really try to help you in how to prepare exactly. That would take around half an hour to 1 hour separately, so we will not touch deep into the topic, but I will provide all the materials and also written snippets of how to prepare. Darshana, I'll do it as soon as the session is over by today, tonight, or tomorrow. So judicial clerkship work is to summarize the cases, or there is any other things to do. Mm, okay, judicial clerkship. Basically, it is about summarizing the cases. You are helping the judge adjudicate. So the judge can't read the entire brief. So you help the judge in adjudicating. By that process, you learn law. You learn how to brief. Briefing is not a normal skill. Many counsels in Supreme Court take lot of time to learn how to brief. Like they, it takes 2 years, 3 years under an AOR to properly learn how to brief a senior counsel. So while you come out of clerkship, it reasonably puts you in a pedestal than other people on how to brief an entire SLP in 30 minutes if required, or if 1 hour if required, or if 10 minutes if required, or even if 30 seconds or 1 minute if required. So that is a skill which becomes better and better by repetition. So that is not something an AI could do, and yeah, AI can do obviously, but doing it in oral requires a lot of practice, I would say. So that is the sum and substance of it, if you want to ask me. But there is a lot of other things as well. It brings you a lot of connections. That is one advantage, with various people in the judiciary, as well as people from academia, and also advocates. Yes. So these are the perks and benefits, and you also get to live a good life in those 1 or 2 years. You have some kind of what VIP privilege in some places, uh, where others cannot access. You'll be able to access inside the Supreme Court as well. And also the ID card carries weight across the. You will be treated differently in many places during those during your tenure. So that helps immensely. To it actually opens doors which would otherwise not open. But whether you will have to join a judicial clerkship, or you will have to get in vis-a-vis doing a LLM that time, uh, or joining a law firm immediately after your graduation, is completely your call. But I would say judicial clerkship provides mm, a launch pad for almost all the things. Yes. So does the experience gained during a judicial clerkship provide any distinct advantage to candidates preparing for the judiciary, especially in terms of legal analysis and application of law? Yes, especially after the 3-year rule has also come out. You would know that a lot of people, the competition for this examination has also immensely increased after this rule has come out. It's still in process, the review and all those things, but still, as of now, mm, it really helps in legal analysis and application of law. It does help, because judiciary examinations, especially if you see the Delhi judiciary examination and some other judiciary examinations as well, it is not possible only to crack only by studying. If it can be cracked, but understanding and studying properly for the mains, especially where the questions come from various um, branches of law at times, and the judgment writing is also not limited only to the normal civil and criminal these days. And especially I have seen the Delhi judiciary papers. Other judiciary, uh, still it can be cleared only by a way of coaching centers and all those things. But I definitely think Supreme Court clerkship will provide you an unfair advantage in writing proper answers in judgment writing, as well as also in all your law papers as well. It gives you a completely different perspective when you go through those many amount of SLPs. It really makes your view of um, cases in general in India, a trial court case or high court or a Supreme Court case. The perspective that you will have at the end of the clerkship will be completely different if you do the clerkship properly. Yes. And what should a law student focus on while preparing and making the most out of a judicial clerkship? So, yes, many people who come to judicial clerkship, they think that connect you will have to build connections. But while you are a judicial clerk, if you do your work, connections build automatically. So there's no need of putting in any effort at all into the social life or um, building connections per se, since the profession itself requires a lot of connections while you come out, either in law firm or ultimately litigation. Lot of requires a lot of connections. But if you are in judicial clerkship, it is that if you do your work properly, you will be noticed by the right people. And then when you are making the other people's lives easier, you will be promoted to higher quality of work, and you'll be given work which will enhance your prospects even higher. So completely being work focused during those days will be really helpful. Maintaining life balance is required, but I would say networking inside the courtrooms, networking at that point of time, it's not really a good ROI. It doesn't give good return on investment. Working on yourself during those days or completely on your work will really benefit you. And the impact that you will leave, the if you are working somewhere in the district court or high court, even if you do extremely good work, it is not noticed by people who are in the top of the profession. But here, if you work properly, your work is noticed by the people who actually matter, and then whose words matter in various arenas. So even if a single word which comes from people that your work is really good, that's gold in so many places and can open so many opportunities. And work can't substitute anything else. Nothing else can substitute the work that you put. Yeah. And how does judicial clerkship influence a young lawyer's career path in litigation, academia, and policy making? Okay. So I have been a practitioner now. I have recently started my independent practice. So if not for clerkship, I wouldn't have come to Delhi. I was basically practicing in Tamil Nadu. I was writing judicial examinations as well. I was practicing in Tamil Nadu. And then I was thinking I was pretty much happy with the life there. And then I was thinking of practicing and slowly developing. Maybe someday I would come to Delhi as well. But High Court was good enough for me, and then the District Court as well in Madurai and Theni, where I hail from. But only after I came here, while I got the clerkship as well. I wrote the examination and I cleared, and then I got the clerkship call. So even when I came, I thought I would spend 1 year or 2 years here in the city, and then go back home. That is what was my original plan. But seeing how the law and lawyers and the arguments and the cases here shape decisions which affect a large part of the country, which affects people across the country, I decided to start here. So if not for this clerkship, I would not have been able to get into a chamber, into a Supreme Court office as well. And after that, doing well in the chamber also, it helped me a lot. The clerkship background helped me a lot. And in fact, the confidence to pursue independent litigation 4 years, less than 4 years after law school in Supreme Court, that largely arose from what I learned, what learned, and what I took out of the judicial clerkship, the amount of time, the short amount of time I was in the clerkship. So in litigation, it really, really helps a lot. Academia, so as I told you already, the part is research as well. So practical researching, many we all lot of law clerks actually contra- um, do academia after law, especially since people those who join law clerkship are generally bright. They pursue LLM and then also are more inclined towards scholarship and research and oriented work. And many people go on to pursue masters in masters abroad, because this clerkship carries value in the CV as well. And also sometimes during your clerkship also, with some amount of good letters of recommendation and also good good profile, you can get into good scholarships to pursue LLM abroad. So many people like that have been going to, this has been a culture constantly, and people have been doing really well in academia and policy making as well. Academia and policy making has been interconnected, especially in Delhi. Um, so I would say, to both of the careers that you have asked, the litigation and academia or policy making, it really helps a lot. And even in AFIAI and other research and think tank bodies, people look for candidates who have already worked in in research which actually has had impact on people already. So someone who has already been part of brief making in to a judge for 1,000 cases, who which has decided 1,000 cases by a judge, they will have a lot of insights and they will be able to provide a lot of things into their next job as well. That is the basic presumption, and also it more probably turns true often. So this is really helpful in that sense. So anything else?
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for addressing the questions of the participants. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
I would also like to thank Dr. Kunal Rohira, who is the member of advisory board AFI, for curating this session. Thank you so much, sir.
Very good
As we
evening.
move to
Very good evening, respected guest speakers, participants of this workshop of from AFIAI. So, for the formal vote of thanks, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Julius sir for insightful session and for the on the topic of the judicial law clerkship. The session is very informative. It was very informative as the Julius sir has enlightened the students for the important work of the law clerk in briefing the case, exam procedures, practical aspects, expectations, and opportunity in this field. Really, I am sure about that it will be helpful for our students. I extend also my thanks to AFIAI for organizing this type of events, really informative events, and truly contribute to the bridging the gap between the academic learnings and the practical exposure. Last, my appreciation goes to the everyone who worked behind the scene to make this program a success. So I conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you very much, sir.
I would also like to include.
So there's one question, I guess, whether AI can replace the judicial clerkship. So there is already, the Supreme Court is already underway to prepare a AI system specifically for the Supreme Court staff inside, and judicial clerks are using are expected to use AI later, and then in no near future, AI is going to disrupt litigation or the people who are working behind it. That is for sure. And so, without any anxiety, lawyers can all law students can um, pursue their careers and also put in their all. And there should be slightly more focus on what all the skills the AI can't replace. That those are the ones that you should strive to develop. Thank you.
As we move forward towards the conclusion of the session, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Shubham Shukla, sir. We are honored to have him as the convener for this program. With valuable experience in teaching at leading institutions and mentoring students in mooting and debating, his academic
Thank
journey.
you so much, Pari. It's been an
Thank you,
honor,
sir.
and I would also like to, like, as Kunal sir has already conferred formal vote of thanks on my behalf, I will also like to express sincere gratitude to Advocate Julius sir. Right, it's been really a pleasure of mine, and it's like all these participants will really learn a lot from this particular session with regards to the insights if they are like planning to prepare for judicial clerkship in real manner, how exactly they can begin with it, and what they can expect during the time when they'll be there and as a judicial clerk. So, like, thank you so much, sir, for the insights that you have given, that you have gained from your experience as judicial clerk. And as sir told, right, this it's really required a lot of, I think, the sheer efforts that he put in right during the judicial clerkship, that he has started his own practice and litigation in Delhi within the span of just 4 years after passing his I think bachelor's. So it is that journey that influences like a lot of learners, like what we have during these participants, right? So definitely it's going to help us. And on behalf of Asian Forum for International Academic Interaction, I would like to express sincere gratitude to Dr. Unal Roira, Julius sir, and Professor Shobhitab, and right curating committee and organizing committee. And thank you so much for all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
And obviously, like one question which again comes to my mind, Julius, sir, if you don't mind, right? What is your interaction with new AI platform, right? Which Supreme Court is using right now, right? Supays and all, or are the like what is the advisory that is being given to judicial clerk, right, when they interact with any, or suppose like any of the judicial clerk, if they have been using any machine learning or LLM platform with regards to creation, because obviously that ethical use can be done, right, and the task becomes easier. So what is that extent of usage of, I think, these ML platform or LLM platform that is being like engaged by judicial clerks? And what do you think could be the future lead to, right? What can be the future
So
repercussions of
there have
using
been
it?
instances where, so the problem is that the information which are put as input in the chat GPT or any other platform are all sensitive, basically. So that is a huge hurdle in using AI to its fullest efforts. So that is why the Supreme Court has come up with its own,
Yeah,
it is
super.
underway. So it is its own AI. Generally, but informally, we have been using a lot of AI tools, more than any other advocate, I would say. And then people in the 1 year would have learned how to use AI in its the enormous capabilities of AI comes out while we while we go through all these files. Even without uploading these files, we use it for enormous research, which normally a law school graduate who won't be using at this point of time, I think. So there is a different way of even using AI, and any law clerk would be able to even take a class on how to use AI better for litigation or
Definitely.
research. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Your insights definitely helped us all. And as a person who would also, I would also like to do judicial clerkship. It did help me a lot. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Julius. You have been always very kind to accept my invitation. And I must tell that Julius has recently started independent practice, which I'm sure is going to flourish in Supreme Court. He has been very consistent with his work. And yeah, I'm glad that I have known you. And he is one of the students who has always kept in touch. So, and has always accepted my invitations. Thank you for coming, Julius.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the invitation. The pleasure is all mine.
with this, we formally end the meeting. We shall see you again tomorrow. All the participants at 3 p.m. And tomorrow's session is also very important and engaging because we have Nana Rathor, who was an associate with Sri Amarchan Mangal Das and is currently acting as a legal recruiter. She will be guiding all the participants, especially law students and early career advocates, with respect to their possibility of landing placements in jobs and internships. So with this, we end this meeting and see you all tomorrow at 3 p.m.